Welcome to Wireman's Whimsy. I'm Lorraine, and today we are making this thank you card using the early released Ornate Garden suite. The DSP has the colors Early Espresso, Mint Macaroon, Old Olive, and Terracotta Tile. It also coordinates really well with So Saffron, which is what I used on this card here, and with the Blushing Bride, which is the card we're going to make today. We'll be using a landscape card base, which is created by taking an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock and cutting it in the middle long ways, then scoring it 5.5 to create a landscape opening card. We'll need a piece of the Ornate Garden Specialty DSP, cut 5.25 by 4. You can see it's got the foiling on the back. Trying to decide which side of the paper to use is really difficult. We need a piece of Whisper White 4 by 2 3/4 for the central piece, a scrap of Whisper White long enough for the greeting, and today we're using the Thank You from the Ornate Thanks stamp set. You also need a scrap of Blushing Bride to stamp the daisies on. We'll be using the medium daisy from the Daisy Lane stamp set. We'll need the medium daisy punch. We'll need the Ornate Floral folder. It's the 3D embossing folder. It's beautiful. I did one in a darker color so you can see the depth of the embossing on here. It is truly beautiful. Blushing Bride ink pad and the Old Olive ink pad. We're also going to be using the stitched rectangle die. It has to be long enough for your greeting. So if you can see here, it's long enough to cover the greeting, and you can see it's too big for the greeting, but we're going to solve that problem. I'll show you how to size your dies. And you will need, when we're sizing the die, you will need a Post-it to hold the die in place so it doesn't move. First thing we're going to do is adhere the DSP to the card. Let me just put it down, and then we can put this to the side for now. We need to run this through the Big Shot. You just put it in, close it up. I'm using the regular base with tab 2 and only using one cutting pad. I'm putting the die or the embossing folder right on tab 2. We aren't cutting. There is a specialty plate that you can get to do this. I find this works really well. So we're just going to run it through the Big Shot, do that embossing, and then we can adhere this to the card right away as well. So that's the embossing on the Whisper White. Just use our regular snail adhesive. Just center it in the card, and then we're ready for the next step, which is stamping the greeting. As I said, we'll use Blushing Bride and the Thank You. Just going to ink this up really well. As always, stamp away to make sure we've got good coverage, and we do. So this doesn't have to be exact because we are cutting it out, but just somewhere near the middle works. And there we have it. Now, to cut this out, we cut it twice. I'm using the magnetic base with the cutting mats. And when you're using the rectangular dies like this, it's always better to put them through the machine at an angle. So I just size that up like that. It's where I want it, so I'm going to use a Post-it and just hold that down. As those of you who use the magnetic base know, sometimes the magnets inside can make things move while you're putting it through the machine. So we'll run it through, and then I will show you how to size it for the greeting you've got. As long as the die is long enough to cover your greeting, you don't need to worry about the width. So as you can see, we've got too much down at the bottom. So we're going to run it through again, but we're going to line the die up like this. And you can see at the edges to make sure that you're even so that you can match up the cuts from the last one. And again, just put the Post-it on it to hold it in place, sandwich it up, and put it through the Big Shot. And again, putting it through at an angle stops that big clunk clunk as you're pushing it through. So as you can see, the Post-it note held it in place, and now we have the piece cut out with the stitch decoration all the way around. And that's how you can use your dies if you don't have exactly the right shape. I will use dimensionals to put this onto the card. Just quickly do that, and then we can stamp the daisies. And I'll just pause so that you can see what it looks like without the daisies, because it's very pretty just without the daisies. But if you want a little bit more bling on there, so that's it without the daisies, and then with the daisies. So we'll make some daisies to go on this. We're using our Old Olive, which is one of the colors in the DSP. The daisy, the smaller daisy from the Daisy Lane set. We just ink that up. And again, we line up so that it's easy to punch these out. And just stamp it down. And then we use our punch and line it all up. Punch. And the same with the second one. And I use the small dimensionals to adhere these. If you don't have small dimensionals, you can use the side cut bits off your regular one, or just cut one of your larger dimensionals in half. These ones, the small dimensionals work really well for this. Oops. And you just take the backing off when it cooperates with you. There we go. And I just tucked one of the petals in underneath, just to give it a bit of a distraction like that. Just adds a bit of depth. Just like that, and that is your finished card. So thank you very much for watching today. If there are any products that you would like to purchase, please use the links below. And if you'd like to subscribe, you'll get notifications when the next video posts. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.